In this video, we'll continue to walk through the process of configuring a digital lighting management relay panel and accessories. It's important to remember that the LMCP panel is just another room controller, but with 8, 24, or 48 relays. Also, remember that schedules reside inside the panel itself and not in any separate time clock device. The first step to setting up any time-based behavior is to make sure that the date, the time, and the location settings are correct. To do that, use the LMCP. In order to be able to program the panel, the first two things we're going to want to do is set the location of the building and also set the time clock inside the panel so it knows what time it is. In order to do that, I'll use the LMCP. I'm just going to go down to the More option, and when I choose that, you'll notice there's a new Setup option for panels. If I choose Panel Setup, it's going to ask me to point to the panel. There's an IR port right inside the top of that card, so all I need to do is press, hold, let go, and if I hold it steady, you've now got the panel set up. So you'll notice that there are 5 new options. The first 2 are the ones we're going to concentrate on. The first one is location settings. So this is where we're going to put the longitude and latitude of the building. And if you don't know it, don't worry, because all we need to do is press and hold, and it's going to show me the location setup based on the state and the city. If my state is right, I can just move down to my city, walk through to the city that I'm in. Let's go to San Francisco, and there we go. Now, by doing that, it's automatically put the longitude and latitude in for us. So now all I have to do is move over to Send, press the button, point, it sends the information. So the panel now knows where it's located. If for whatever reason your city doesn't come up in the LMCT display and you know the longitude and latitude, you can go to a manual setting and put that information in directly and then send it into the panel. Since we're done, we'll go down to Done, press, and be back. The next thing we want to do is set the time and the date. Tell the panel what time it is. So we're going to choose that. It's going to tell me to point it at the IR port, press and hold, and now it's come back and it knows the time and date. It's important to remember that this is going to be military time. So we put the year, we put the month, we put the day, we then put in military time. So right now it's about 12:30. So let's put 12:30 in. And let's go to 30. Once I've set the time, I just want to send that into the panel, hit send. It's going to remind me to point at the panel now, and I'm all set. You'll notice that if you've got a daylight savings location that either doesn't follow daylight savings or you want to use something other than the automatic one, there's also an option there for daylight savings at the bottom, so you can make a change there. When we're all done, all we do is go back to Done, and we're back to the panel setup menu. Now remember, this panel has got a built-in time clock, so we're going to use that to control some relays. In order to do that, you actually set up a scheduled event and identify what relays it's supposed to control. Events are created to control groups, so before creating any events, we first have to create some groups. The simplest way to create groups doesn't involve using the LMCT, but uses 1 through 8 group buttons on the main panel intelligent card. The 4 buttons for groups 1 through 4 are on the top, and 5 through 8 are on the bottom. We refer to this as smart wiring. So what we're going to do is we're going to assign relays 1 and 2 to group number 1. And in order to do that, I'm going to use group number 1's button, and I'm going to smart wire it. So all I need to do is press and hold the button for about 5 seconds until the blue LED starts blinking on group number 1. Once that happens, the LEDs of all the individual relays go off, and I'm just going to add in the relays that I want to have controlled as a group. I can even add in an extra relay, and then if I realize I've made a mistake, I can take it out of that group. Once the right relays are assigned to group number 1, just tap group 1, and we're all set. And now to test it, relays 1 and 2 off, relays 1 and 2 on. So we've just added relays in this panel, relay number 1 and relay number 2 to group 1. If there were other panels networked together via MSTP wire between the panels, each of their group 1s would also follow any event created for group 1, because groups are automatically global. While there are only 8 push buttons in each panel, You can use the LMCP to actually program up to 99 unique groups for an entire system. So we've now got the panel set up with its location and time of date. So the next thing we're going to want to do is put some actions in. We've already created group number 1, so all we need to do now is go to panel programming down at the bottom of the menu, and now we're going to create some schedules. So what we want to do is we want to create one schedule that's going to turn group 1 on at 7 in the morning. We want a second schedule that's going to turn group 1 off at 6 o'clock at night. So let's set up the schedules. Schedule 1, point it at the panel, press, and now it's going to prompt us and say, okay, I've got an event number 1, what do you want to do at that time? So we're going to choose to go on at 7 in the morning. Remember, this is military time, so 7. Once you get the 7 in, hit the down button and we'll move over to 0, 0. And which group was it? That was group number 1 that we're going to have control of. So okay. Now, this schedule is only going to run for 5 days, so we're actually going to be able to tell it right here by going active days that we want this to work on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, but we don't want to have it run on Saturday, Sunday, or holiday. And you'll notice that those are already set to no, so I don't need to do anything. I'm going to say done. And at this point now, I want to send this event into the panel. I'll hit send, I'll point it at the panel, hit the button. I've now set up event number 1. So now let's set up event number 2. I've told it I want to do 2. It's going to ask me to pull the information out of the panel to see what's already there. And if you recall, we were saying that we're going to do an off at 6 p.m. In military time, that's going to be 1800 hours. So I'm going to say 18, move over to 00. And again, I want to tell it to do group number 1. I'm going to change and do the active days again. And here, the active days for Monday through Friday have already been set with no for Saturday, no for Sunday, no for holiday. So I'm done. So now I can just send that schedule into the panel as well. Press and hold. When I'm all done, if I want to, I can always go back and pull these schedules out one at a time and make sure that I've got them set exactly right. So here's event number 1. It's an on at 7 in the morning for group number 1. Here's event number 2. It's a off at 1800 hours, which is 6 p.m. for group number 1. I'm all set, so let's say done. We've just created the simplest type of behavior for a group, a simple on and off schedule. But remember that with DLM, we actually have a lot more opportunity to use the normal hours and after hours, and then actually put settings on each one of those events. We're going to introduce that in video number 2. I hope you found this video useful. Please check out our other videos on DLM relay panels for complete information on configuring panels and accessories.